Welcome back, everyone. Mile High Monsters. This is our favorite time of day because it is when my favorite people are available. Joining me today on the show are Mark from Marcky Sports Denver, and of course, Kodiak Broncos, who's seemingly becoming a regular here at Mile High Monsters. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm going to put you in the inevitable position, the impossible position of building a Super Bowl roster for a team. Now, zero prep. So this is off the cuff, guys. We're gonna, but I think we need to do this, right? Like 14-3. We made the playoffs. In my opinion, we came within a broken ankle away from making the Super Bowl. I don't care what anybody says. I'm standing by it. Mark, first glance. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Are you ready for extremely dumb questions and to help me build this roster today?
I'm always ready for questions. I don't believe that there are many dumb questions. Well, I mean, I was taught that growing up, but then Twitter's really changed that whole narrative. There are dumb questions, but I trust in you, Mike. I know you're not going to ask any dumb questions.
Then you have not been following along because that is exactly what I do. Kodiak, welcome back, buddy. Good to see you. It's been a whole day, maybe, since I saw you. Are you up for the assignment? I'm gonna get you guys to give me the missing pieces of what's going to get us over the hump. How confident are you that you're gonna be able to make old Carmelini walk away happy from this show, feeling good about the coming year? How confident are you?
I feel like I'm very confident. The reason why I feel confident is because, it was how many months ago that we were on the same mic'd up show together between me and Mark. So we know how this works. Okay. We know how to please Mike Carmelini. Okay. Because you had us on the show again. So we must have done something right. So it's not about building the team. It's about how do we make our host happy?
Well, you came close to getting banned when you said that Coach Sean Payton was really old and probably losing it, and then realized that he and I are the exact same age. So, piss off. But you're lucky you're back. I'll keep you another time. Hey, let's do a quick. Let's look back. So last year, we all sat in our studios and watched Sean and George make some moves, right? So these were the moves that were gonna and it's fair to say to get us over the edge, because I think we were still kind of looking at the rebuilding year. We were all saying, hey, this is the year we find out what Bo's all about, right? That was the goal. Let's find out what we have in Bo, and then we'll grow from there. Now, I think you guys, I don't remember exactly, but you guys had pretty lofty expectations for the schedule. Both of you did, if I remember right, which turned out to be true. I think I had us at 10-7, making the playoffs and winning one playoff game. So I hit on that. But a lot of guys had 13 wins here, 12 wins here. Mark, do you remember about where you were at? I think you guys may have done this on the Horsepower Hour on your show, where you kind of went, hey, let's do our score or our record predictions. Mark, do you remember where you were at with that?
Yeah, I had us at 11 wins, I believe.
Okay.
And yeah, I had the same kind of expectations you did. Like, it wasn't so much about how many games we win in the regular season. It's more about how much further we get into the playoffs, and obviously solidifying Bo Nix as franchise quarterback. And you can check all those boxes. But yeah, I think I had 11 wins.
Let's get into that in a minute. Kodiak, do you remember about where you had it? Was about the same?
I remember exactly my predictions. So my prediction, like Mark's, was 11-6. But the predictions the games I got wrong were, I had them winning against Jacksonville, I had them losing against Philadelphia, and I had them losing against Houston as well, and losing to Kansas City once. So I think they did flip one of my other games. I think I did have them losing to Green Bay too. So those are the games I remember that they flipped on me. But yeah, for the most part, it was not about how they went about the regular season. It was like, all right, how can we build upon our incredible season that we had 2 years ago that we weren't expecting, that nobody really was expecting. And then, yeah, overall, it was a fun year. And now we get to try to build a Super Bowl squad.
Yeah, let's do that. First of all, I think in fact, I remember pretty clearly thinking that, and I put this out, it would be possible to have a better season with a better team without having an actual better record than last time. So it's not always about the record. It's about quality wins. It's about how far you get. We did both this year, 14-3, 15-3 counting that incredible win over Buffalo, and also up clearly a better team. Now let's go back. March 13th. Let's just do a quick recap. Our first signing, March 13th, was Evan Ingram at tight end, and Greenlaw and Hufanga. And then Trent Sherfield was one of those. So those were our first big forays into the free agency market. And at the time, I kind of loved every one of those, although they all had injury issues, right? Coming in. Now, Kodiak, I'll start with you. The Evan Ingram signing in particular, what were your thoughts on that at the time? And now looking back, what are your thoughts on that first free agent signing from 2025?
So I'm not doing this to pump my own tires.
I wish you would.
Yeah, there are receipts of me. Like, you could literally go back on my channel and say what I have said about Evan Ingram. I thought it was great that we were going to get a tight end weapon that defenses had to respect. I thought it was great that we were going to get somebody who, could be a mismatch in the middle of the field. But I also saw, the deployment in Jacksonville, and I was like, how's that going to work out here? He had an average depth of target of 5 in 2023 and 2024, which were very strong seasons from Evan Ingram over there in Jacksonville. And ultimately, I still was very in on the signing. I couldn't have envisioned it going the way it did, but I think a large part of why it went so wrong is because of, philosophically, I just think they just weren't on the same page with how they wanted to attack that position. At the end of the day, when you have guys like Adam Troutman getting all these snaps, and you have Evan Ingram getting like a 40% snap share in the regular season, and you made a big deal about getting him, I'm just like, what were you doing? Come on, like, he either played a role for you that you completely pitched differently to him, or he played a role for you that you had in mind, and you were just like, all right, cool. But then my question is, why did you have this guy to play that role? Because I can only remember a handful of good things he did last year. And you know what? It sucks because they made a big deal about getting him. But once again, I don't put that on him. I put that on the team.
He was incredible, I thought, when he got his hands on the ball. He was fast. He was explosive. It did not appear to me that the game plan was set up to get the tight ends the ball at all. So a strange signing for a coach who literally had no plan to use them. And maybe that might be why Mike Lombardi's gone. We don't know. And Carrie, Mark, thoughts on Ingram, thoughts on Greenlaw?
Yeah, I was really optimistic with both signings. Greenlaw was my number one free agency target that I wanted, him and Hufanga, so I was happy to get both of them. Ingram, I was excited about, but I didn't want Ingram to be like the solution, right? Like, I wanted him to be a part of the solution, but I didn't think it was enough to just sign Evan Ingram, and unfortunately, that's what happened. We kind of just signed Ingram and felt like, oh yeah, we're good with him, and then keeping the back end guys, which I never thought was enough. So definitely a frustrating year for him. It seemed like him and Bo could never get on the same page, and it also seemed like anytime they were on the same page, he dropped the ball or Bo would miss him a little bit, make it difficult, or just wouldn't see him flat out too. So yeah, definitely frustrating there. With Greenlaw, it was one of those where, man, the soft tissue injury that he had, and I think it was May of last year, and before the offseason, was frustrating, and all the injuries was annoying. But I still feel a little more optimistic with him, because I feel like if he can have a good offseason, I like what he brings in a sense of, like, he brings that dog in him. He yaps a lot. He kind of fires everybody up a little bit, which I think we need.
We definitely
but overall,
need it.
Yeah, overall, I still think both positions are in need of significant upgrades from really the bottom up. So we'll see. But yeah, I would say probably Ingram and was maybe I give it like a grade of a C at best. Maybe a C minus probably would be more fitting. Just because it wasn't that expensive. And then Greenlaw, it's harder to give anything higher than a C minus as well. Again, both contracts were really team friendly, so it's not like it was that difficult. But yeah, they didn't perform, and both of them for different reasons.
Yep. Ingram with a 2-year, $23 million contract. Greenlaw, 3-year, $35 million. Both great deals. Now Hufanga has to score higher because he was one of our playmakers. Again, we needed dogs on defense. Greenlaw should have been one of those. I think he spent like 6 weeks out with the quad, and then what was it, the hammy? And then we learned after the season, with his interview, he admitted that he just couldn't wrap his head around VJ's defense. It was like learning Spanish. So he's coming back, hopefully healthy, and hopefully he will know the defense. And so not giving up on Dre Greenlaw, and certainly happy about Hufanga. So, but yeah, all these contracts, I think George Payton did a good job of bringing these guys in. I'm kind of looking down the list here. I guess we'd have to come all the way through till June when we signed J.K. Dobbins, injury-prone running back out of the Los Angeles Chargers on a 1-year, $5.25 million contract, but came in. It was like 7th in the league, averaging 5 yards a carry, on pace for 1,400 yards. This guy was a difference maker and a huge part of why the Broncos went on that run, I think. Now that injury bug did creep up and get him. We want him back. Should we start down that road, Kodiak? Do we want J.K. Dobbins back? And we'll get into the nitty-gritty stuff first about, well, if this, then no or yes. But I mean, just first glance, I would like J.K. Dobbins back. I think he's an amazing running back for this team, and he really wants to be here. What are your thoughts on J.K.?
Yeah,
on the signing and then the possible re-signing?
So signing A++. I mean, the fact that you got this guy in early June when 31 other teams had the chance to do it, and the fact that you got that level of play and that level of production out of him was absolutely absurd. Like, that's almost unheard of. I know people are just like, well, running back is easy to replace production-wise. And while that may be true to like get guys who are, just usable bodies, it's not true for those who are actual difference makers. And J.K. Dobbins was a difference maker. J.K. Dobbins was a phenomenal signing, okay, in early June. And honestly, I was a little concerned that they weren't going to add anything other than RJ Harvey after the draft. That's why I initially came into the draft disappointed with our haul. And I was like, okay, we weren't aggressive in the UDFA pool. So, like, we're going to have to roll into next year with Jalil and Bidet. And I just never thought that or an Estime, and I never thought that was viable to begin with. But as far as should we re-sign him again, yes or no? If you're just giving me a flat out yes or no, it has to be a yes. That being said, we have to do something similar to what we did last year, like very incentive heavy contract, because, fair or not, he hasn't been the model of health throughout his career. Now, once again, the play that happened against the Raiders was completely unlucky, and anybody who was the ball carrier would have gotten injured on that play. But J.K. Dobbins has shown that he can still play. He's still got it. And, I just think maybe we need to do a better job of, how do I put this, keeping him on the shelf this upcoming year if we are to re-sign him. Because you know what? You've seen a couple of highly productive running backs into their late 20s in the modern NFL. Kamara was still productive. Kareem Hunt was still productive. There were a couple of other names. Aaron Jones. These were all really productive players, and J.K. Dobbins is going to be 27 or 28 next year. So, but yeah, no, just got to make sure that you can maximize him as well.
I think the signing was great. I was a huge fan. We were all kind of calling for. He was on our radar, and we've got guys on our radars this year. Guys, don't worry, we're going to get to those. But J.K. was definitely number one on my radar. I've always loved him. I think the criminal aspect of what we did as Broncos organization was not having a plan B. Right. We talked about this the other day too. Like the other three running backs on the team were all 5'8", 200 pounds. So there was no J.K. Dobbins B on the team. There was no B plan. It was just a bunch of hobbits. Although RJ Harvey is our best hobbit, but nonetheless, Mark, J.K. Dobbins, you liked the signing, if I remember correctly. A 1 million or a 1 year $5 million contract. actually a nice contract. George has done a very admirable job about not bargain bin shopping, but paying fair contracts for players, and they want to be here. So another thing, Broncos country, that we can hang our hat on. We are now a destination. But as far as the J.K. Dobbins, was it criminal to not have another plan with a injury-prone running back like J.K. Dobbins? Mark, can you explain that to everybody? What I mean by that?
Yes. Yeah, very much criminal. And just to clarify, it was actually a 1-year, $2 million deal. There was 3.1 million
with
in
incentives.
incentives.
That's
Yeah,
why
and I don't know
that's
if he
why
hit,
you guys are here, to make me look
yeah, no, you're good.
stupid.
So it was even better deal because I think one for five would have been five fine, but yeah, I don't know how much of the incentives he hit, but I mean it was absolutely criminal. It was something that I was screaming about during the draft the whole time. Is you sign, and that's why I worry. That's what I worry about happening this upcoming year, right? Is you talk about George Payton's really good at bargain bin. He's really good at finding good contracts for players, but how is that limiting the ceiling of the team, right? So I made a video on like key free agents that we should sign and who I'd be fine. And I didn't really want to sign any of them. I was okay with us signing a few, and J.K. Dobbins was one. But the more I've been thinking about it lately is I'm completely against bringing J.K. Dobbins back at this point. And it's not because it has anything to do with him as a person. I've grown to really love him. He seems like an unbelievably kind person. Obviously, he's a really good player when he's healthy. But my fear is that we sign him and we just say, okay, we got JK back. We're really excited about the progress that RJ Harvey's going to make in the offseason, and that's going to be it. And I'm just not okay with that because they haven't proven that they're going to go and actually address the position. It's also a free agent class that is loaded with running backs. I can't remember a free agent class this loaded with not only running backs, but young, talented running backs. And I think we need to be aggressive. And I've never been I've always been the guy that's like, don't spend money on running backs, just draft them. But I'm at the point now where it's like, spend money, get a good running back that's young, that doesn't have the injury history that JK does, that can be productive, and also address it in the draft. You've got to do it in both. Same thing goes with tight ends. So I'm kind of at the point now where I don't want to bring J.K. Dobbins unless somehow they prove to me that they'll also add other bodies to this team as well.
All right, a little ahead of subject. What are your thoughts on halfback Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas?
He is my he was my first, I call it like player I fell in love with in the draft so far. So far, there's two of them.
That.
I love Mike Washington from what I've seen. I think he's dynamic. What I like about him is when you watch him, like if you don't do any research into him and you don't know the size profile on Mike Washington, you would think he's a 5'10", 200-pound running back because he's just buttery smooth. And then you look at what he weighs and he's 6'2", 225. And you're like, yes, I want some of that. I like him a lot. I think he's somebody the Broncos should absolutely target in, day 2 of the draft, second or third round. And there's quite a bit of pretty decent running back prospects, but he has really stood out to me outside of like the 2 top guys, which are the Notre Dame guys. I think he's kind of that next tier. And he's, in my opinion, he would be exactly what the Broncos would need to add to the room.
What about Singleton from Penn State, late 4th roundish? Thoughts on that, Kodiak?
Well, so Singleton's a tough eval because Penn State, when they collapsed, they just absolutely collapsed. And Singleton, had he come out last year, he probably would have been a 2nd, 3rd round dude. But then it was really Kaytron Allen at Penn State who got the workload. And honestly, I feel better about Kaytron Allen's success in the NFL rather than I did about Nick Singleton's. I don't know what it was, but I got an up-close view. I was at Ohio State versus Penn State in on November 1st. Yeah, I was there in person. And from my viewpoint, Nick Singleton looked like he was running in mud. Now, I don't know if he was quietly injured. I don't know if something had happened to him. But I just, the thing that I think could translate to the NFL for him is his 3-down ability. Like he's really good at catching the ball. But Kaytron Allen, in my opinion, was a much better pure runner. And I think if you're picking between 2 Penn State running backs, I know this wasn't the question. I think Kaytron profile is much better as an NFL back.
As a starter?
Yes, like as a much more just, reliable, what we were missing this past year that we didn't have in the playoffs once JK got hurt. I think that's what this team needs, because, you have RJ Harvey, who we can see is obviously a great playmaker, good at doing things in the receiving game. But ultimately, as far as Nick Singleton, I wouldn't really get the fit here if he was drafted, to be honest.
Well, I think my fit for him was insurance for J.K. Dobbins. Does he not fit that role?
I mean, he does, but I think there's other guys who just fit that a lot better, to answer your question, if that makes sense.
Okay. Signings last year, restructure signings. We got Coop back on a restructure. Cortland Sutton, 4 years, $92 million for our number one receiver, but not a true number one receiver. Zach Allen, love that. 4 years, $102 million. Now, and Marky, before you jump on me, these are just, this is without, boosters and,
I'm not gonna really jump on
so don't call me out on that. Of course, we got Benito signed. Lutz is back. Roach and Luke Wattenberg with a 4-year, $48 million contract. So I think that kind of, unless you guys have any thoughts on last year's moves, we could just do a quick glance at the draft, and then let's start building our team, okay? And then chat, hang in there. I see all you. I'm going to get to all you guys. I know you've got questions. Anything else on what we did? Any of those moves that we did last year before we move on?
Well, I hate the Sutton move. I hated the Sutton move when it happened. I got a lot of flack for it. And I think now a lot of people also hate the Sutton move. But we'll get into that, I think, once we start to talk about the draft and the offseason and why that is. But
okay,
that's the only
first
one.
Round.
Every other move, I think, is 10 out of 10. I think they were fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good offseason. You're not going to hit 100%. Good offseason. Well done on the team. Obviously, when you win the AFC West and you beat the Bills, you're doing something right. So our draft class was Jahdae Barron. Here's where I'll differ from purists. That was one of my least favorite picks of the draft. Not the player, just team need versus value versus all that crap that we talked about. And then RJ Harvey. Now, weren't there Omarion Hamptons and other running backs available in that 20 range that could have helped this Broncos team, Mark, last year?
Yeah, I mean, there were. I think hindsight's easy, right? Because you can say, oh, we would have been better suited with Omarion Hampton, but they don't take into account, like, okay, but you also have to minus the production that RJ got for you. And even though they're very different running backs from what I've seen in terms of RJ being able to catch the ball, he had 12 touchdowns on the year. He was one of the few guys that was a massive playmaker for this team. And so it's like, yeah, maybe we would have been better with Omarion, but that's removing RJ Harvey out of the equation. So hindsight's always easy with the draft. I mean, I would have been really happy with like Emeka Egbuka or Matthew Golden, right? But it's like Egbuka would have been nice to have. You can look at it and say, and he had a really good rookie season. Matthew Golden, not necessarily the case. So, yeah.
We lost Egbuka the pick before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he go at 19?
Yes, yeah. Tampa sniped him.
Yeah. Now, do you think he would have been the pick?
I don't actually.
No? Okay.
I don't. I thought at the time that was, but then you start to see the some of the I don't know if you guys saw the video. I know Kodiak has, but Mike, if you saw the video of like the in-season Hard Knocks with the Giants.
No, I didn't watch it.
And they were doing the draft. And what happened is the Giants, just to kind of give the people that don't know about it, the Giants had a deal in place with Denver to trade out. And they wanted to get Jackson Dart, which obviously they ended up doing with Houston. They had it with Denver, and then Denver backed out when Jahdae Barron was available, and it kind of irritated the Giants staff, which is fine. So I don't think it was going to be Egbuka. I think that they probably had targeted somebody else. He wasn't there. They didn't think Jahdae would be there, and that was the pick. So yeah, I don't think it was going to be Egbuka.
Yeah, it's one of those that I get. I mean, I get. I think the Broncos said that he was number 9 on their big board. Too hard to pass up. But he also came into arguably the best defensive back room in the league. So for me, didn't like it. didn't like it. But RJ Harvey, I do like. Pat Bryant, I like. Q Robinson, I like. Kodiak was nice enough to do a little video on that, which could be eye-opening for some of you who haven't seen it. Guy's an absolute playmaker. And then, of course, our best pick of the entire draft was Jeremy Crawshaw, punter from the Outback. So I'm kind of half joking, but I mean, literally, he kind of was the best pick. But I'm no huge RJ Harvey fan. I think if JK stays healthy, that twosome would have been quite the pair. So we ended up with our offensive starters of Bo Nix, Dobbins, Harvey, Sutton, Franklin, Troutman listed as a starter. Garrett Bowles, Palczewski, Wattenberg, Miners, and McClinchy. There's room to improve here, guys. Let's catch up with a little bit of chat. I saw a few that need to be addressed, and then we're going to build a team real quick. David Yunkin says he loves your content, but we have no idea who the coaches will be after losing some coaches, and who the play caller will be. Well, Sean Payton is the coach of the team. We know that. He controls all. He controls almost everything that happens. But when things don't get passed down that he wants, he gets rid of coaches, including his best buddies. I think that we can feel fairly confident that he already has a plan. Clint Kubiak has taken the Raiders job. I haven't seen anything else on that yet as far as Davis Webb, but I'm expecting Davis Webb to get promoted to offensive coordinator. Does anyone on this panel see something different happening than that, Mark? Are you thinking that's going to happen, or do you have your doubts?
No, I think that's the plan. I think I expect it to be announced in the next couple of days. Davis Webb will be the OC. I think he will overtake play calling duties, or at minimum be very, very involved in play calling. So
I think he'll be involved. I just, knowing Sean Payton and what cocky, proud gentleman he is, he's the smartest guy in the room. It's going to be very hard for Sean Payton to hand that playbook over. But what I do see, and I think Kodiak heard me say this, I could see certainly the preseason. We give that a shot. I could see a game where things seem to be in hand, and Sean hands over the play sheet and says, "You know what, Davis, show me what you got," and maybe we ease into it. I would be shocked if during the preseason, during camp, where we hear Sean Payton say, "I'm no longer calling plays. I'm handing that over to Davis Webb." Kodiak, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Sean is in a position to where he's going to have to rely on his coordinators more. I know that you gave me a little bit.
You say it's because he's old. I'm just
No.
going to remove you right now.
Not at all. It's mainly just because I think there was just a little too much on his plate this year. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of the dysfunction comes from, for all the great things that he did for our offense and he's done for this team. I think there was just a little bit too much on his plate. You saw late subs, you saw 3 and outs at a monumental rate. You saw this offense without J.K. Dobbins unable to get the run game going. And overall, you just saw a lot of discombobulation on the offensive side of the ball. The highs, very, very high for this team. Like, sometimes you look unstoppable, but then there have been multiple quarters, multiple halves where this team literally, it felt like picking up a yard was a huge task in itself. And I think a lot of that inconsistency can just boil back to Sean Payton having a little too much on his plate. And I think Davis Webb's ready for the opportunity. I think it's as much about Sean, just needing a little bit of help and doing a selfless thing and being like, admitting I need help, as much as it is being like, all right, this guy's ready. We feel really good about this guy that we've had in our building, and we're ready to give Davis Webb a better shot.
Rojas comes in. I don't know if he's one of your guys. Don't recognize the name, but welcome to the show. If you are new to any of our shows, please get in and subscribe to Marcky Sports Denver, to Kodiak Broncos. And on a personal note, I would like to add something. I don't know how to do this because I got to update this layout here real quick. But Mile High Monster is sitting at 1.99. So close to 2,000 subs. I can almost feel it. This could happen on this show because there's hundreds of you watching this. It's literally just a little button to hit subscribe. And my wife would probably see that, and I would have a special evening because she would be like, "Oh, you're a star. You're a big star. Can I have you?" And I would say, "Yes, you can have me." All right. Anyways, that's
Let's
just
get him
me
to
being
2,000,
me.
guys. Come on.
Let's get to 2,000 and get me some me time tonight. So
Yes.
I appreciate the comment and appreciate everyone coming in. David, who is moving today. Congratulations, David. Talks Broncos. David is co-host with Mark and Kodiak on the Horsepower Hour. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Nailed it.
Fantastic show with Sean. I don't know. I never know what he
Jeremy.
goes by.
Jeremy.
Sean.
Jeremy Sean.
Like
Yeah.
how weird, like how hard do you want to make it, Jeremy Sean? Just call yourself Sean or Jeremy or Jer or something so that someone Sean Payton's age can remember what the hell to call you. Roas, it very much, this is the second time he wants to fire Sean Payton. I'm going to go ahead and handle this one, guys.
Yeah, please do.
Go ahead.
Now, as the elder member of the Broncos YouTube podcast segments, I'm not the oldest. There are older, but I've been around long enough to watch Dan Reeves be our coach and Mike Shanahan be our coach, John Fox, Gary Kubiak, and then a million others. I can tell you that a team that goes 14-3 and is so close to an AFC championship game, because you are frustrated over some play calling or maybe some in-game decisions, or maybe you just don't like him. If this team were to fire Sean Payton, first of all, it would be probably a felony in most states. It would be such an egregious mistake. He has transformed this Broncos team from switching coaches every 2 to 3 years, trying to find quarterbacks, trying to find an identity. We have found that identity. It is Sean Payton's identity. It's tough-nosed. It's no BS. Not saying there's no faults there, but no, that is crazy. It doesn't mean you are, because I am also crazy and say crazy things. But guys, we're not firing Sean Payton, are we, Mark?
No, I think Rojas, maybe he might be a NFC South fan since they can never beat Sean Payton, or he's a fan of somebody in the division for saying it. Because there's no way you can be genuinely a Bronco fan and truly believe that, even if you have a ton of disdain for Sean as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the results. Firing Sean Payton is insane. David Talks Broncos said it in the chat. He goes, Roja, that statement is insane. LMAO. Yes, that's where I'm going to keep it. That is insane.
It is. And it's like saying firing Belichick back in the day because he was such a prick. I mean, you just these guys have a lot of power and a lot of ego. And, it's like sometimes they're just not that likable. But no, we don't fire people like that. Brett Hilbers, my guy. Happy Sunday, Broncos country. Happy Sunday to you, Brett Hilbers. You are my guy. I'll go no further than that. Sonny, we need a number one receiver. Would be amazing. Number two, and if Bryant can stay healthy, would be an awesome slot. All right. So with that said, let's get into it. Let's start building our team. Item number one for me. Now, I have heard Coach talk about how, and George Payton talk about how he loves, they like their room. They like the wide receiver room the way it is. And I, for one, also like the room, but it's missing one piece for me. It's missing a true difference maker, wide receiver, someone that other teams have to game plan around. We don't have that. We have a bunch of number twos which is a good problem to have if you have a number one. Kodiak, is it time to make a move for a number one wide receiver? And I'm talking trade, free agent. I don't know what's out there free agent wise, but am I crazy to say that it's time to go after someone like, dare I say, Justin Jefferson, or maybe on a lower level like a Waddle or something like that? And would he even qualify for that?
I mean, absolutely, it is time to go out and try to get a true difference maker at the position. I think for the most part, the rest of the room is set. I
Mhm.
think, they all bring really good traits. They all bring a lot of really good different things to this wide receiver room in general, between Franklin, Bryant, Mims, Sutton. I like, what they all each individually bring to the room, but you're just missing that one guy. Okay. And the idea of a wide receiver one in the modern NFL, it's kind of interesting because, you think about, okay, the classic prototypical wide receiver one in the NFL has been like a Calvin Johnson or like a Mike Evans in more recent times, where they're just this big bodied receiver. But that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. I think for a wide receiver one, what matters more is being able to be deployed at all three receiver positions. Okay.
Mm.
X, Y, and Z. And ultimately, I still don't think wide receiver is that valuable of a position in the grand scheme of things. I think it's not a premium position per se, but it still matters. It still matters. Um, but yeah, no, I understand why teams forego the lack of investment in the receiver position, but we're not in a position to do that, man. It's time to get Bo Nix some weapons, and you really saw it in the AFC Championship. Little Jordan Humphrey, 74% of the snaps, like that just kind of said everything right there. And not to specifically dunk on him because I don't blame him. I blame the team for not, doing more to get us to that position. But yes, it is absolutely time to do it. The draft is a little interesting, but if you're able to swing a trade for one, which I don't know what the trade market looks like. We're not in those, NFL calls or whatever. And by the way, guys, while I'm going on this rant, subscribe to Mike Carbolini. But also look at Justin Jefferson in that Broncos number 18. All right. Could we unretire 18 and give it to Justin Jefferson? I mean, I think if you swing a trade for Jefferson, you absolutely are able to do that. I don't think that's realistic at all in the sense. That's just not what I'm saying. But yeah, it's time to do it. It's time to do it. Now, will it come via free agency? I'm not entirely sure. Best wide receivers available in free agency are Alec Pierce, George Pickens. There's probably somebody else I'm forgetting of right now. The draft, we'll see because there's a lot of good ones this year, but at number 30, probably not going to get one of those like elite upper echelon prospects. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
What do you think, Mark? How big should we go? How big of an issue do you think it was for the team, and how big should the Broncos go? How aggressive should Penner and these guys get trying to get the guy at wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they should, leave no stone unturned when it comes to trying to upgrade the wide receiver room. But here's the problem. I mean, we've kind of hamstrung ourselves by having Cortland Sutton making what he's making and being on this team. And the reason is because now you're limiting yourself into looking for a true wide receiver one, right? Which those guys just don't really become available. Like, it would be great to trade for Justin Jefferson's not going to happen. It'd be nice to trade for Jalen Waddle. That I think can feasibly happen. But we'll ultimately see if they're going to pull the trigger on that. And then when you look in the free agency list, I mean, the top two guys are George Pickens, which is just not going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't think he's going to.
Why do you say it's not going to happen?
I don't. Well, first of all, I just don't think we're going to.
Do you think he's happy there? Do you think Pickens is happy there?
No, I think he's going to demand a whole lot of money, which he should. And I don't think that A, the Broncos are going to be willing to pay it, and B, I don't think he's a locker room fit for what Sean Payton wants. Overall, just kind of with some of the diva traits and everything that he's got. But I think it's going to be a big bidding war. I can see him going to a team that has a whole lot of cap space and is not really a good team right now to try to elevate the room. And he's a really good player. Don't get it twisted, but I don't see the fit. And then you look at Alec Pierce. Alex Pierce is somebody that's feasible. He's somebody that I like a lot. I can't sit here and tell you that he's going to be wide receiver one for this team. But what I do know is somebody like him absolutely elevates the ceiling of the room. And that's kind of what you have to try to look at too is, can he become the wide receiver one? Sure. Can I'm the biggest believer in Pat Bryant. I think Pat Bryant could be wide receiver 1 someday, but hope is not a strategy, like I always say. So bring guys that you know can elevate the room. My number one choice for free agent wide receivers would absolutely be Alec Pierce because of what he brings. He brings something that other guys on the team can hypothetically bring, but Alec Pierce has actually done it. You're talking about the best deep threat in the entire NFL, someone that's averaged over 20 yards a catch for 2 seasons in a row. And I get it. A lot of people are like, well, the first season that he catches 50 balls will be the first year that he ever does in his career. Well, he had 47 catches for over 1,000 yards this year. So what kind of production can he give you if he's having 65, 70 catches?
Now he's a Colt. Is he a Colt?
He's a Colt. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's someone that I think he's just super underrated, flies under the radar. Like, everyone knows George Pickens for being this big, tall, long, athletic, fast wide receiver. Alec Pierce is bigger. He's taller or longer, like they want to say. He's got longer arms. He's faster. And he's got more explosion. And not just from a standpoint of his measurables, it also translates to what you see on the field in terms of on a per catch basis. So I'm not saying he's better than George Pickens, but for what he's going to get versus what George Pickens is, and then also the locker room presence that he can bring, I think he makes more sense. And Kodiak also said it before, we need somebody that could play the X receiver, the Y receiver, and the Z receiver. And I see Alex Pierce being able to play all 3 of those positions as needed as well. So that's just a name to kind of keep an eye out on.
I like that. The Broncos have $29 million. These are rounded numbers in cap space right now. David Talks Broncos, our good friend, postulated that we release Ben Powers, Matt Pert, and Drew Sanders, which would put us at about $40 million right there in cap space. Now that money can go really fast when you start talking about big name trades, big name players, but the Broncos could afford to do these things. Now, getting the other team to play along is the problem. I think the thing with Pickens and Jefferson is there is a chance that those two may not want to play for the teams they're on. And you have to factor that in sometimes because it's not that players can do whatever they want. It's that sometimes teams are like, man, if the guy doesn't want to be here, he's not going to perform. We're going to have to pay him all this money and it's not going to fix anything. He's still not going to want to be here. So these are possibilities. These are not pipe dreams. Although the Justin Jefferson trade would, you're talking about giving away draft capital. You're talking about multiple picks. I don't know what his contract situation is. Out of those two, Alec Pierce might be more gettable. And I'd be happy with either one of those. Kodiak, any other wide receivers you can think of that might be out there on your radar that could help this team? And when I say help this team, get us a true number one wide receiver.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about free agency, but I think it's time to, look towards the draft because honestly, I think the only true difference makers in free agency will be George Pickens, Alec Pierce, and Wan'Dale Robinson. But he doesn't really fit what we need in this wide receiver, but he is a good player. So, but yeah, that's another the radar guy that I could see getting a lot of money in free agency, but I don't think he's necessarily what this team needs. But yeah, I really like him as well. But as far as the draft, I mean, I really, really like Denzel Boston. Okay. The thing about Denzel Boston as a wide receiver is I think he just brings you a solid Sutton replacement, but I think it would look a lot more like it did in Sutton's second year. Okay. Not only do you see Sutton winning at all 3 levels of the game, short, intermediate, deep, but you also see him winning, after the catch. You also saw him being very aggressive with run blocking, and I know he's been a willing run blocker, Sutton, that is, throughout his entire tenure as a Bronco. He wouldn't be given all this trust if he wasn't. That being said, Denzel Boston, also a captain, and they talk about, wanting to bring in these guys who fit well into this room. I just really, really like what he brings. He was absolutely fantastic this year with Washington, and he's done nothing except raise his stock. And honestly, I would really, really like us to right now. If I'm turning in the card at 30, and we're looking at guys who we think could be there for the Denver Broncos, one of my first thoughts is Washington or no Boston. I mean, because he was a great player at Washington, and he was stuck behind Odunze and Polk and Jalen McMillan, I think, initially with Michael Penix. But he waited his turn, and when he finally got his turn, it was absolutely fantastic.
What are your thoughts on T. Fishes? Would it be possible to get McBride?
Not possible. Not possible without I don't know. Yeah, you could. It's probably just going to be less worth. How do I put this? The opportunity cost will just be too much, in my opinion.
Agreed, Mark.
Yeah, the elite tight ends like that are that young and just signed contracts. They're not available. I don't care how bad the Cardinals are. It would be so stupid because you just don't find those kinds of. I mean, elite tight ends is probably the hardest position to find in football. Just look around and see how many there are. There's not a lot. So that would be unbelievable. I would be willing to give up quite a bit for him, but still, I don't find it to be feasible.
Kenyon Sadiq going to be around at 30 in the draft?
Doubtful. I think he'll be available in the 20s potentially. Which could, trading up from 30 into the 20s wouldn't be that hard. The opportunity cost would be a little bit less, but
tough to make a move like that for a tight end.
Was that
tough to make a move like that for a tight end on a team that doesn't want to use their tight ends too? For me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's also like what Sean Payton asks from his tight ends. It's hard to see us in a situation where we would do that. I totally agree.
Yeah, Breece Hall, Tyler Algier, and J.K. Dobbins. David, being a dick as always. You're not going to get J.K. and Breece Hall or Tyler Algier. I don't think you're going to get J.K. and a draft pick. Or Breece Hall and a draft pick, or Tyler Algier and a draft pick. I don't think you're going to get any two of these. Am I wrong here, Kodiak? Is that how you see that?
So I would think you'd be right in saying you're not going to get Breece Hall and Tyler Algier and J.K. Dobbins. But ultimately, yes, I think you are absolutely able to feasibly get Breece and J.K. or Tyler Algier and J.K. I think that's very feasible. I think that's very doable.
That would be awesome.
He's not going to command, I don't think he's going to command a super, super large market in free agency just because if he were to, he already would have this past free agency cycle, and he was still available in June. Okay. And not to say that a lot of teams aren't going to look at what he did this past year and be like, okay, we definitely couldn't use him, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think, J.K. Dobbins, I think this front office is going to be realistic. I think they're going to be pragmatic and be like, all right, adding a J.K. Dobbins, he cannot be our only solution at the running back position if we're going to go in the free agent market like it was this past year.
I think J.K. Dobbins is probably going to end up signing back with the Broncos on a vet minimum with some, what do you call them? Performance incentives. With the injury again, other teams, we're going to value him more than other teams, as always happens with your free agents, or like in the draft when you've got your undrafted free agents you sign, and everybody's always worried about how they're going to steal our guys if we don't put them on the roster, and it never happens. It's so rare. J.K. Dobbins is special to us because of what he did and what he said, but yeah, I don't see a lot of teams just sitting there, just sitting around waiting for J.K. Dobbins to become available, and they're going to sign him to a big contract. I agree with that. I think we'll be able to get him on some performance-laden contract. If you stay healthy and you do this, you're going to make a lot of money. If you don't, you're going to get the vet minimum. I guess if I had to choose between Breece Hall and Algier, I would take Algier. Now Algier, I don't do the stats, you know my game, but I don't think he averaged 4 yards a carry last year. Mark, is that because the offensive line sucks for Atlanta, or is he just a sub 4 yard per carry back, or both, or do we know?
I don't know. I can't say exactly why he has his yards per average went down. I mean, for his career, he's at 4.3.
Okay.
It took a dip a little bit last year, but I'm actually surprised that you said that, Mike, in terms of taking Algier over Brees Hall. I actually agree with you, but I thought that was kind of the unpopular take. I think that Algier is he's a perfect complement for RJ Harvey in this offense.
Oh yeah.
And there's a couple other reasons why we can get into that, but I mean, Atlanta's O-line was pretty decent. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's like another level, but they used Algier a lot more this year in short yardage and on the goal line, which as a Bijan Robinson fantasy football owner was very frustrating. He had 8 touchdowns. So it wasn't like he was used as much. It seemed like on the general downs, but yeah.
So red zone back, like finds the end zone.
I mean, 8
RJ
touchdowns.
Harvey can do that as well too. Although different ways. All right, you're kind of selling me on that. I like that. Roax comes back in. The Broncos are going to be bad next season. I'm glad you came in and told us that, because I was starting to get my hopes up that the Broncos were going to be good next season. So good to know. Thanks for the view. Did we figure out what fan Rojas, put what your team is in there, and welcome to the show. We take any and all here on the show. T Fishes, when you've won 3 Super Bowls, you have a lot of patience for stupid people. T Fishes, would it be possible to get McBride? I think we just covered that. I'm getting lost. My assistant Chewy took the weekend off, left me alone. I had Sonny Staley. I had 12-13. The Green Bay game was the question. Okay. So he's going back to preseason predictions. I think I had Green Bay as a loss as well. So fair. That's fair for all people. I was trying to get through some of these comments. I always feel bad because we get to yapping and the comments and the viewers are why we are where we are. So I definitely want to get in on this. He's glad that VJ stayed. DB for life 303. It would be stupid for him to leave this kind of talent to go to an Arizona team. Now, I agree with half of that. The Arizona team is in trouble, and you're looking at a coach, a failed coach. But head coaching jobs don't come along very often, and they tend to pay $50 million or whatever. So, to go get paid all that guaranteed money and then it not work out, he'll always have a defensive coordinator position waiting for him. Mark, what are your thoughts on VJ? Looks like he's staying. I know it's not a done deal. Now what's the guy? Jim Leonard left for Buffalo. So there was our quote unquote backup plan, right? So that was the one we were all looking at to be our backup. Now that he's gone, I have to admit, I want to be honest, and on Mile High Monsters, we are always genuine. We don't put on shows. We say what we really mean. I was fine with VJ leaving. And the reason I say that is because I believe that these late season fall offs are because of VJ's inability to make adjustments once other teams have figured him out. He said it himself, Mark. He said, it's harder later in the season because teams know what you're going to do. And I hated that. Like with every bit of my soul when he said that, I just deflated. It's like, are you telling me as one of the great defensive minds in the league that you can't adapt and show somebody something they've never seen? That drove me crazy, and it didn't make me feel better about the future. These late season collapses in our defense are a problem for this team. So it looks like GJ's coming back. What are your thoughts on that? And what were your thoughts when it looked like he might be leaving for Arizona and Jim Leonard was going to take over?
Yeah, I was. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm really happy VJ is coming back. I think it's one of those like be careful what you wish for moments, right?
Okay, like
With
with
him.
Sean
So
Payton.
yeah, exactly. I think he's been solid. Continuity is always really good. You know, the fact that Greenlaw came out and said it was like learning Spanish. It's a very difficult defense. I think that's just further proof that like it's good to have guys continue to have that continuity there. I would have been fine with it. Obviously, I would have been happy for him. I really like VJ a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, I like
Just
VJ too. Don't
yeah.
get me wrong. I
No, I
love the
know, I
guy.
know. No, I
Yeah.
know you do. I know you do. I always like to preface saying that because it's like, you know, it's nice to have good people around, right? But
Yeah.
also maybe maybe he needs to be more of an asshole to be better, like Sean. But no, I would have loved to see him get a head coaching job, and if that was the case, then it would have been the best thing to have Jim Leonard stay, right? That would have been at least some continuity there. But the fact that like we're at least retaining one of them is awesome. It's the best case scenario for the Broncos, keeping VJ or having Jim Leonard. Obviously, Jim Leonard's gone. So I think having VJ is good. In terms of like the late season adjustments, here's a couple of things I kind of noticed with the defense. I thought VJ did a great job of adjusting. I think the games that we struggled a lot, the tackling of the team was just poor. And that's not going to always be on VJ. Secondly, you can only adjust so much when you're very limited at the linebacker position. I mean, that's just the truth. Like people want to talk about you know, the Seahawks defense or the Texans defense or like the Broncos defense under Wade Phillips. The 2015 defense was absolutely loaded, and they had some unbelievable linebackers, and that makes it a lot easier to be able to adjust. So I think some of the lack of adjustments is just like a personnel issue as well, to an extent. But overall, man, I mean, we can't forget just how good VJ was. The corner blitz that he sent, he basically Steve Spagnuolo'd the Chiefs. The late game, big time sacks and wins, and I love that he never goes in prevent. There's a lot of reasons to love VJ. I think you continue to give him more weapons, and this defense is just going to continue to be dominant and certainly good enough to bring you to a Super Bowl and win it.
You know, VJ has this tendency to. I know that I guess the click word is bend don't break, but kind of what he does is he lets teams do whatever they want between the 20s. He doesn't seem to concern himself too much about that. And then depends on the number one red zone defense in the league to hold him to a field goal. And this is a plan that actually can work pretty well if we can hold teams to field goals, make them work their way down. We shorten the clock, and then we shorten the clock by having these long extended drives. Now, the issue is, can we score when we get in the red zone to take advantage of that sort of game plan? But then you have games like the Jaguars, who seemingly scored at will. You have games like the Bills, where they had not one single punt in the whole game. I don't get it. I don't understand how, with a backfield like that and a quote unquote pass rush like that, that this sort of thing happens. My biggest, I think one of the biggest things this defense misses, in my opinion, is the inside linebacker position, where we can keep even slow quarterbacks like Drake May and Patrick Mahomes from ripping off 17-yard runs on 3rd and 15. That really bugged the crap out of me. So hopefully some changes are coming in that when they self-scout themselves. But yeah, VJ coming back, VJ leaving. I was never excited about either one of them. Kind of fine with either. Kodiak, where are you at with VJ looking like he's coming back? I know that you see some of the same things I do, but I think you're also kind of a bigger VJ fan, aren't you?
Well, it's kind of like what Mark says, like, just be careful what you wish for. Like, even just because VJ had left, and had he got to Arizona, and even though we just lost Jim Leonard, I assume Leonard would have stayed here, and we would have given him the spot if VJ had left. But it's just one of those, like, we've seen what bad defensive coordinators look like. All right. And across the NFL, you see some guys that you're just like, how did that guy get this job? Like Eberflus. Oh my goodness. What
Yeah.
a disaster year in and year out.
Right.
Not only in Chicago, but
It's a great pull.
Dallas this past year. But no, like, I get it. It's really frustrating in the back half of the year because you're just like, all right, this defense is nails. in the first part of the year, and then you're just like, what happened? And once again, I think that's a quote he said about it's tougher to play when there's film on you is a really bad cop out, because you looked at what Seattle and Houston did this past year, and you're just like, okay, so tell me it's more difficult to play defense in the second half of the year when there's film on you. But either way, I'm happy he's here. I'm happy he's a Bronco. Like, once again, I'll just trust that he can just figure it out next year. I know that in 2024, I feel like the collapse was less on him than it was about the talent. I thought Barton and Sternad both just completely cratered in that December month. I thought PJ Locke was not playing good ball during that time either. But this past year, yeah, it was a little mystifying, and you're just like, all right, so against the playoff teams, we didn't play as well. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where, once again, you got to be careful what you wish for, because the alternative, we don't know what the alternative is. And VJ, what we've seen from him, very good defensive coordinator. And maybe he is just one of these guys that you could just bring in to rebuild a broken unit, and you don't know exactly what the ceiling of him of this defense is with him as a defensive coordinator. But he's not the reason we lost the AC championship. He's definitely not the reason we couldn't go at that point. But yeah, against playoff teams, we will need to be better in the second half of this past year. Like against Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Buffalo just wasn't good enough. Even the Commanders, I was like, what? Like, Mariota was dunking on us.
Yeah, he punked us, and that was another one of those where I'm just like, this is our elite defense, and this is happening to us. I don't understand it. So here I'm gonna throw my first crazy stuff out at you guys. This is why you guys are here, to talk me off the ledge, educate me if need be. Does the name Devin Lloyd mean anything to anyone in this stream? Mark, tell me about Devin Lloyd. Now, he plays inside linebacker, does he not, for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, he does.
Would he look good in orange and blue, with Singleton being 32 years old and Strenad not really sure what's happening with him, and Greenlaw injured, not injured, and can't speak Spanish? I would like to see Devin Lloyd on this team. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I think you can mention any linebacker, any off-ball linebacker's name, and I would be like, you're not
You'd
crazy.
be all right with
Let's try it. Maybe it works. My thing, yeah, at this point, no, Devin Lloyd's a really good player, man. He's still a younger guy, too. I believe he's like 26, 27.
26 this year, I think.
Yeah. And he was a highly touted guy. I think he was a first-round pick, and he kind of started his NFL career off pretty slowly, but he had a really great breakout year this year with Jacksonville. I think he's gonna get a lot of money in free agency. But yes, he's like a perfect example of somebody that I think can be really good, especially as a coverage linebacker. You see him be a little bit more sideline, be able to cover. That's what we need. He's a taller guy. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be super open to Devin Lloyd. He'd be one of the guys on the free agency wish list, no doubt about that. And I think that we need to look at all options. Like, for me, running it back with the same guys, bringing, whether it's Alex Singleton or Justin Sternad, and then having Dre Greenlaw, like running it back again is just putting yourself in this hamster wheel of mediocrity. And it's time to raise the ceiling of these positional rooms. And yeah, I mean, none bigger on the defensive side than inside linebacker. So I think not crazy at all. I love it.
I think somebody checked me on my math, but I believe Alex Singleton is a free agent this year. So we're going to have to sign somebody. Now, Alex Singleton, I actually love Alex Singleton, the person. But I think I would probably pay whatever Devin Lloyd wanted to bring him in here. I think I would go into this defense about as confident as possible. Kodiak, thoughts on Devin Lloyd or another option that we haven't talked about maybe that might fit that role?
I mean, if you're talking about Devin Lloyd, the price of a brick has gone up this year exponentially, and for good reason. Okay. He wasn't first team. Was he a second team All-Pro this year? I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, of course, no. He obviously he was a highly coveted guy. Utah State was where he was drafted from back in either 2022 or 2023. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's done a really, really good job at coming into his own. I know that the Jaguars actually do have some pretty good linebackers down there, and kudos to him for making it happen. Like, do you guys remember that pick six he had on Mahomes in the red zone last year? That was unbelievable. Like, that was just unbelievable playmaking, and I think we just need better playmaking from the inside of the defense. Okay, other than Alex Singleton forcing that fumble, which great on him, that was a monumental play. And Sternad getting that pick on Jackson Dart. We just need more consistent, like, boom, lay the boom, impact plays from those positions throughout the year. And while those guys made big plays when it mattered the most, we just need it a little more consistent. Hey, guys, the Chiefs or whoever are driving, all right, maybe we need one of our linebackers to get a hit on whoever they draft, or Rashee Rice over the middle of the field. Maybe let's force a fumble. Maybe let's have our inside linebacker, lay the boom, lay the wood, and let's get the ball going the other way. Because I think that's a big reason why this team didn't have a lot of turnovers, was because Singleton and Sternad and Greenlaw or whoever were just limited in what they could do in that capacity as well. Now, if you're talking about like other guys who could be available, I mean, if you look at the list of free agents, I don't know. It's really hard to find off-ball linebackers in the modern NFL who become available that you'd be genuinely excited about, that wouldn't command like super gargantuan price tags. Because let's be honest, like, the guys that are true difference makers are just not going to be available. They call their defense like the Fred Warners of the world. Like, those guys just do not become available, and they shouldn't become available. But it's a rather old, rather senile free agent linebacker class outside of the guys like Lloyd, like Bobby Wagner, Demario Davis. Like, maybe we could re-sign those guys and become the unction. But at that point, I'd just rather look internally. And I'd rather just see what we got in some of these guys like Karene Reed. Heck, maybe even give Drew Sanders another chance, even though he doesn't exist.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, I mean,
You call it A.T. Perry next and see if we can get him back too.
yeah, like, the thing is not, okay, Drew Sanders is the solution, because the Broncos would be asinine to think that. But the thing is, I just want to see what we can do with the younger guys currently in house, rather than go out and get some random like 30-year-old, 31-year-old inside linebacker from another team. Okay, we don't need other teams' trash coming here. We need our own trash. Okay, potential. Yeah. Okay. Potential upside is better than unknown trash. And I think that's something the Broncos did not agree with me on saying this past year, with the way they deployed all these guys and with the way they built the roster. So, yeah. I know somebody says Quay Walker, Bert Jacob O, I don't know, says, how about Quay Walker from the Packers? Good player, but the only thing is, one, he can't cover. Two, I feel like watching Green Bay over the past few years, he gets the stupidest penalties at the worst time. Like, do you guys remember in the winner-take-all game from Detroit and Green Bay in the 2022 season? Remember when he pushed the Lions training staff member? I forget what, but he also did something really stupid. I can't remember. But, yeah, no, Mark made a good point here. Quay Walker can't cover it all. But regardless, I think you need to attack this philosophically rather than just, here's concrete what we do. And like I said, give your guys in your current building a go, rather than going out and getting like a Demario Davis or a Bobby Wagner type.
Respect my co's, Mike. Caden Ellis, Mark. What do you think about Caden Ellis?
That'd be really damn cool, man, to bring Jonah's
Yeah.
brother here. I think Caden Ellis is a beast. So I get him confused. Caden Ellis is the guy from the Falcons.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. Man, from everything I've seen, he's really good. He's a super good player. Oh no, yeah, he is with the Falcons. I know that there's another one too.
Christian.
Yeah, I mean, Caden Ellis is intriguing as well. I don't know if it's I haven't dug into him a lot in terms of like if there's rumors about like a franchise tag or something, but I like him. He's a little bit older. But listen, like for me, I'm all about like signing 2 or 3 free agent linebackers and drafting 2 drafting 2 linebackers as well, if needed, to really just try to find somebody that can go out there and make plays. I mean, Devin Lloyd would be amazing. He'd be the jackpot. I just don't see a situation where Jacksonville lets him walk or doesn't franchise tag him or something. But yeah, I mean, give me somebody that can go out there and make plays. And Caden Ellis fits that mold too. Absolute Iron Man, and he had 4 touchdowns this year for
Wow.
Atlanta, and I was looking at it. So that's pretty insane. And then Devin Lloyd had 5 interceptions. I mean, when's the last time linebackers have had that kind of production, right? So yeah, Kaden Ellis would be another really good option as well.
Dak says Devin Lloyd or Devin Bush are my 2 favorite linebackers. Did we talk about Devin Bush today?
There are a lot of guys who really, really like him. Like a lot of smart dudes who really, really like him. I know that, fun fact, we almost drafted Devin Bush back in 2019,
I remember that.
Instead of
Mhm.
fans.
Yeah. Had we not traded back, had we not taken the Steelers trade back haul, then the card at number 10 was going to be Devin Bush. That would have been interesting because he kind of flailed out with Pittsburgh, but he's had a nice career resurgence in Cleveland. For all the issues that they have there, they do have a relatively strong defensive ecosystem. Like their pieces are largely in place with Schlesinger and Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and just a couple of other really good names on the defensive side of the ball. But you know what? I'm a little concerned that he might just be a Carson Schlesinger merchant because Schlesinger is probably going to be the defensive rookie of the year. But I don't know. He'd be another intriguing guy, and we definitely do have the talent to support him like Cleveland did this past year too.
And Myles Garrett, he's a football player in the NFL. I see someone.
And I hear he's decent.
Here he's good. Yeah. I just wanted to see how dumb you guys thought I was. I like to test it out once in a while. I like to push it down. And how to pronounce this? Is that pronounced right? Etienne?
ETN.
ETN. Is that spelled right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like
okay.
ETN.
I know ETN, and whenever I use this guy, I always write just ETN, and so whenever I see it spelled correctly, Vic, I always screw it up. Now, this name does come up quite a bit. What is ETN's status? Is he a free agent this year? I like what I see from him, but it's so sparing. I don't know how high I would be on that. Mark, what are your thoughts on Travis Etienne? Is it Travis Etienne?
Yes. Yeah, with Travis. I used to be really high on Travis Etienne. I think he took a little bit of a step back, but he'd be a great player, a great fit for this offense. So I mean, I'd be all about it too. Like this is a stacked class. Not gonna lie to you guys. In terms of free agent running backs, like Travis Etienne's a really good option. Kenneth Walker III would be amazing. Breece Hall, Tyler Algier, Rico Dowdle. These are like some top backs that are available in this class. So I mean, yes, you have to make sure you get at least one of those guys. And I would put Travis Etienne in that mix as well.
Thoughts on Travis Etienne at all? Kodiak?
Well,
just another name in the hopper. Fun fact. Oh, good. Give me a fun fact.
Ready for a fun fact? Etienne in French means crown. I don't know how much I don't know if you guys knew that, but yeah. No, Etienne in French means crown. Isn't that cool? Either way, when he was like rumored to be available last year because, Jacksonville used to be the dumpster fire of the NFL. And it wasn't that long ago where they were the dumpster fire of the NFL. A lot of people were just like, are they going to move on from Etienne? Because it'd be stupid to keep him around. I think they just got a little bit better of their other dudes this year for a lot of the year. But Etienne still made his plays. And I don't think he showed the explosion that he once did because ultimately he has been dealt a pretty rough hand in the NFL with injuries or whatever. But, once again, this is a position that's suddenly aging very well. And I think if you were looking for like that second tier of running backs in free agency, like I think he is a part of that second tier. I think he's just a little bit below like those Breece, those Walker types. Even I would rather have Algier above Etienne. I'd be on board with it. Once again, I think it'd be a little disheartening that you didn't strike out at that position. But hey, if you're going to strike out in free agency, not the draft. So whatever.
Vic says, and likely. Maybe he's talking about likely from the Ravens.
Isaiah Likely?
Or is he saying not likely on ETN? Probably. Hard to say. What is this? Is a new name? Danger Close. Need to draft a punter in the first round. That's right. Can never have enough punters. Could we tag JFM? We didn't talk about JFM. I saw the comment earlier. Predictions on JFM. What's going to happen with him? Too early to tell. I have the feeling they'll try to bring him back, but with some of the other needs that the Broncos have, that he might be odd man out. Mark, what do you think?
I think the Broncos will say they're going to try to bring him back. I think they're going to make no effort to try to.
Okay.
We're certainly going to move on from JFM, and it's not because of the player that he is, just because we're spending way too much money on the defense. He's going to get paid. He should get paid. He'll go somewhere else, and we have the infrastructure in place already to replace him. I mean, we extended Malcolm Roach, who's a really good player. He can be a starter too, for as long as needed while we develop Savion Jones, who I'm excited to see next year. I think Iyomo Wazirike took a big step. And so, no, I mean, you're going to have to eventually get cheaper on defense to put money into the offense. It's just kind of how it works. So, yeah, no, JFM wouldn't make sense, especially on a franchise tag, because it would be basically take up like half of your cap space if you franchise tagged them. So it wouldn't make any sense.
Okay. Makes sense. Danger close. Please trade Bo Nix. I think that's on the table. I think we're going to look at that and see what we can get for Bo. See if we can get a fourth. We'll see. If we do, I'm sure we'll take it. Devontae, we should just draft Anthony Hill round 1, Caden McDonald round 2, then Eli Stowers round 3. Okay, draft nerds. Tell Devontae what your thoughts are on that, if you guys have any thoughts on that.
The thing is, like, off-ball linebacker in round 1, it's just so tricky to project what guys are going to be there and like their skill sets are. I know Anthony Hill, a lot of people really like him, and he was very productive this last year in Texas. He was a really, really good dude. I think he's actually going on 2 years of being all conference, which doesn't mean nothing in the SEC too. It actually means a whole lot in the SEC. But some guys are just tough evals at the linebacker position. But as far as Caden McDonald, I mean, I just don't think he's going to be available because we're picking at the back half of round 2. And I've seen a lot of recent mocks have been the late 1, early 2 range. So I don't think Caden McDonald's going to be there. And honestly, I think somebody else said it that I thought was really, really smart. Like, I got a lot of the same vibes with their assessment. Like, Caden McDonald, he's good, but you need a little bit more of a pass rushing presence or pass rushing chops than what he would do for you if you were to use one of your first 2 round picks on a defensive lineman. So that kind of makes sense as well. And then Eli Stowers, this is so tough, man, because it's one of those where, all right, if the Broncos took him, I just don't know how I would feel about it because I don't know how I would trust them to deploy him because you look at the receiving skills, you look at, where he can align on the defensive side of the ball. You look at the fact that he was the Marcky Award winner, and for good reason. He's really good, and his dynamic athleticism, his, ability to just make plays and just maneuver after the catch. That's all fantastic. But there is a big but.
Big butt. I like big butts, right? And I cannot lie.
We already
because I'm hip.
This past year that we have a really, really frustrating deployment of this role. So something philosophically would have to change within the Broncos. Okay, not to say that I wouldn't be excited if they made this pick, but I'd be like, dang, all right. So we already showed that we can't really make the F tight end / slot hybrid work in this offense with Evan Ingram. Now, maybe Evan Ingram just is washed. I'm not entirely sure, but I just don't believe that based on what he showed with the ball in his hands. But Stowers, round 3, he's definitely a guy worth discussing, but it's a little bit up in the air as far as how I'd feel if they actually took him because I just don't trust them to not run it back with Adam Troutman and Kroll and their guys and just not deploy Stowers in the way they should.
Any thoughts on this, Mark?
Well, I think more realistically, Caden McDonald would be your first round pick and Anthony Hill would be your second. That's kind of where I think more of the range is where it's going to be. This is a really good news for the Broncos is it's a very, very, very good linebacker class from everything that I'm hearing and seeing, which is awesome. It's not necessarily the best tight end. I mean, there's a lot of high upside guys. But yeah, Caden McDonald, I think ultimately might be a first round pick. I think he's really good, 330-pound guy from Ohio State. In terms of, man, it's tough. Eli Stowers, I mean, I love him. I liked Vandy a lot. I'm a big Diego Pavia guy too, man. And their story is really cool because Stowers was a quarterback at New Mexico State and Pavia beat him out, and then they switched him over to tight end. But Eli Stowers would absolutely not do anything that Sean Payton would be asking for as tight ends. And that's frustrating. I get it, but we have to kind of acknowledge what Sean Payton does. Eli Stowers cannot block, and Eli Stowers should not block. He wouldn't necessarily fit, in my opinion, what what Sean Payton would be looking for. So I don't know. I don't even know if he lasts until the third round because there will be teams that'll utilize him differently. But we need to have like the tight end infrastructure set before we can talk about adding, kind of gadget guys at the tight end position. We need to find out guys that can just play tight end, and then you can add accordingly.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, you just saw history. This is the first time in the history of Mile High Monsters where Marky and I went like this and joined. We mind melded for the first time. I 100% agree. I have no interest in any high drafted tight ends this year because we don't use them anyway. So it's a wasted pick to me. I don't know what this means. Respect my co's, who I think generally hates me on Twitter. I'm not sure. I follow him because he's always entertaining. So he's obviously on one of your streams. Demario Davis already told us no. Does anybody know what the hell he's talking about? This is probably because I'm so far behind in the chat. I wish this was the worst thing I do when I stream, but following the chat is definitely top 5 of the things that I do when I'm trying to follow the stream. And hello, Darian. Okay. Let's see. Javonte. All right. Javante's not coming back, although he looked like Javonte this year at the Cowboys. Real happy for him, guys. But I don't think Javonte left under good terms. I felt like he felt betrayed by the Broncos. We won't be seeing Javonte Williams back in a Broncos uniform. Kodiak, is that even something worth talking about here?
No, it was just one of those situations. You saw the success he had in Dallas. It was just one of those situations where both teams just needed to move on. In 2024, he was terrible. He was terrible here. And whether that was the fault of him or the system or just the overall deployment and, the lack of receiving game weapons where teams would just load the box, we can have that discussion, but it just didn't work out here. And we don't need to go back to the guys that didn't work out here because that would just be going backwards with your personnel.
We could be talking about Isaiah Likely with this whole thing of what somebody's already said no. I like Isaiah Likely, but is he not a tight end? Or at least a big F or something in the offense? He's probably not what we need. If we can't use Evan Ingram, I don't know what good that does. I still think we need a number one receiver. I like this one. We talked about this. Awazarike becoming a good rotational piece makes it easier to move on from probably PFM. Agree with that. Is Ingram coming back? Yes, Ingram is coming back. He wants to be back, I believe. Mark, is he still under contract? Or was it was he a 1 year? Or was he a 2 year with a get out?
Yeah, he's a 2-year deal. We could technically save a little bit of money. You take a lot of dead cap. But here's the interesting thing about Evan Ingram's contract is that you incur a lot of dead cap if you cut him. But if you trade them, and this is not always the case, because a lot of times some people don't realize that. Like sometimes when you trade players, it doesn't always save you money. You still got to pay them out if they're in the guaranteed part. But if you trade them, there's a clause that it would be a lower cap hit for us, and a team would have to incur some of it. So he could be a trade candidate, but I think he's most likely back. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
Kodiak, what do you think?
Same thing. I agree with Mark. We're on the same page with a lot of these major things, but I think Evan Ingram could come back, but I think if they were to cut him or trade him, I would get it. I would get it. And honestly, once again, it's not always about the player specifically, but once again, I think he is most likely back. I would put it at a 60-70% chance at this point because he was under a 2-year deal, but if they were to move on, I would be like, all right, I can see why they're doing this. And I'd feel pretty upset because I was really high on the signing when it happened to begin with. But Evan Ingram is most likely coming back. But yes, he is under contract if that's the question.
Yeah, this has been coming up lately. If J Max coming back, a second round tender, we need to keep him. So this gets tricky. My initial instinct is yes, of course he's coming back. We will put a second rounder on him. We will keep him. But then where are we playing Jade Barron next year? Mark, where's the room for our first round draft pick? Is it Riley Moss? Gonna have to hit the road?
I think Riley Moss will and should be traded this offseason.
Okay. So you're a Riley
because-
Moss hater.
No,
what you're saying.
no, not at all. Not at all. I
You
think
can
Riley
say
Moss
it.
played
This is nobody's watching. You can say it. There's only
Yeah.
300. It's like,
No, I mean, I think Riley Moss is fine, but that's, I think he played admirably this year, obviously being targeted a lot. But I think right now, Riley Moss is, I think his value is never going to be higher than it is currently. And he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after this year. And eventually you have to see what you have in Jade Barron. Listen, he could be worse than Riley this upcoming season, but he could also be a lot better. Because one thing Riley Moss was a playmaker. So that's what I think Jade Barron can do. So I think that would be a wise move. If you can get a third or a fourth rounder for him, that would be amazing. And it would just be smart because, listen, he could have a down year and then you just lose him in free agency the following season. And, it all goes to waste. So this is a really good offseason to trade Riley Moss. I think there's a lot of teams out there that would be interested in bringing him in.
That could use him. Yeah. Love him, hate him kind of guy. Talked about this before several times on the show. The guy gets that many targets. He was starting to get the DPI calls and honestly deserved some of those and some of them he didn't. So yeah, I could see that. They have to make room for Jade Barron. If they don't, I think Kodiak said this, or maybe it was David. If he's not on the field starting next year, then that pick was a failure. There's just no way around it. It was a first round draft pick. You expect your first round draft picks to play. Kodiak, who we saying goodbye to? How are we fitting Jade Barron on the field?
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate because honestly, you look at Riley Moss and you're just like, all right, cool. He's been up to the task. He's an absolute dog. But, there are a lot of people that, go out there and they're just like, wow, his completion percentage is very low. But I mean, sorry, come on, guys. You just got to look at what's on the field. And a lot of the times it is wild. Like, it's been a roller coaster with Riley Moss as your quarterback, too. And, I feel like a big problem he has is just his finishing. Because how many times is he just in the perfect position and he just can't
make a play?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, you guys, okay, the one caveat I will say, you guys think Riley Moss has short arms? Jade Barron's arms are even shorter. So at this point, I'd rather move on from Jones. Not say that I don't think Jones is an amazing football player. Like, Jones is a hell of a football player. Like, he is crazy. He's done crazy things to our safety room. And I think Brandon Jones, before Hufanga this past year, was the second best player in our whole secondary. Like, that's how good I think Brandon Jones is. But the thing about Brandon Jones is I think I would rather deploy Barron at safety. I think, Barron can play safety, even though that's not his natural position. But the reason I think moving on from Jones makes sense is because eventually you can't pay everyone. All right. Eventually you can't pay everyone. And, Jones is still under contract this year. But at the end of this year, he's going to be a free agent. And I would just rather use our resources to potentially, find out if we have the longer solution at cornerback 2 in Moss rather than I think, how do I put this? I think Moss could potentially be a longer solution at quarterback 2 than Jones could be a solution at starting safety. That's my rationale behind it.
It's like putting a first round draft pick at safety. One, that bothers me. And two, like you said, he's only played like 100 snaps at safety. I guess I'm just not a big fan of moving players, and I guess I'm also a pretty big fan of the two safeties that we have. So I don't know. I do like the fact that Devontae Adari says he agrees with us, and so I'm just going to leave that up there. And so now, from whatever we say from here on out, we're covered. That everybody would agree with us. I'd play. Darian says he'd play Barron outside and Moss traded. I think that is probably the most likely outcome here, they have to do something with Jahdae Barron. They can't trade him. Well, they could, I guess. I don't know, but why would they? What else we got here? Drain. Another drain. Chris
Miles, what's up?
Abrams Dreams. Crushing It show, by the way, guys, check that out. Now, when Chris Abrams has played, Mark, he's kind of showed out a little bit for his limited time on the field. So we have an overabundance of defensive backs on this team. Again, another reason why the Jahdae Barron pick still irks me. Are you if Moss goes down, how confident are you on a 3-game stretch with KAD playing in that backfield?
No, yeah, I feel really good about it. I think Chris Abrams has been a stud, and a lot of people kind of overvalue Riley Moss because they're like, look what happened to our defense in 2024 when we lost them, and it's like, well, it's because we played Levi Wallace.
Yeah, that's
He didn't play Chris Abrams.
That's right. Because
it could have been very different had that been the case. And then you add Jahdae Barron to the equation. And listen, it just shows that Riley Moss's problem is not really because he has short arms and he's always a little bit close. Chris Abrams Drain is proof of that. He's way smaller than both Jahdae Barron and Riley Moss. But a lot of it is just about technique and being able to go out there and make plays. And Chris Abrams Drain has played like 90% less snaps than Riley Moss, and I think they have the same amount of interceptions. So, yeah, he's a playmaker. He's great because he can play outside and he can play nickel. He played nickel in Missouri in college. So I think Chris Abrams Drain is just another, argument of mine to say, like, yeah, I think we have to move on from Riley Moss because Jahdae Barron can go out there. If he doesn't play well, you can keep him in the dime back role and put Chris Abrams Drain. But we have an abundance there for sure.
Yeah. And so jamming in the past, Jahdae Barron is the dime back currently, and that's true. But you can't have a first-round draft pick just playing dime. He needs to have a bigger role. You could move him outside and have KAD as your dime back. But I'm not a pro. So let's wrap this up. I thought I made a bookmark for this, but I didn't. A banner. But here's what I want to ask you guys. What are the 5 things, and we've covered them all, kind of the 5 things that we need to do to take this team from great to greatness. How are we going to get to a Super Bowl? And I will give you one, and then Kodiak, you can give one, and then Mark, you can give me one. So nobody's on the spot here for one. And I will go first, and I will take the easy road out and go with what I've been harping on for the last 2 years. I like our wide receiver room. I need a number 1 killer wide receiver that opposing teams have to account for. That's number 1. I think this team anything can happen, but I think this is one that would make me feel a lot better about next year's squad, is if we take some of that money and cap room and put it on a big name or a quality number 1 wide receiver, and then keep the room the same the rest of the way, except for somebody at the bottom. Like we had Michael Bandy out there playing. We had little Jordan Humphrey out there playing. We had guys, I don't even know who their names are, were out there playing wide receiver. Like we have room for a number 1 wide receiver. And then you can have Court, Mims, and Pat Bryant as your other 4. And then I think that makes that an incredible room with 1 move. Kodiak, give us another move the Broncos can make to get us to the Super Bowl. Or if you disagree with mine, nix it and then go on to what it should be.
No, I agree with you 100%. 2, I'm here to tell you two right now, and that's that you have to get serious about upgrading the horrible parts of the team. Okay, you need to completely tear down your tight end room. You need to completely tear down your inside linebacker room, and not that the inside linebacker room was terrible per se. It's leaps and bounds better than the tight end room, but you just need to get serious, okay, about upgrading the areas of your team that are bad, and that's something I feel like they didn't do last offseason. I felt like they were just like, all right, Evan Ingram, perfect. We can run it back with Troutman and Kroll and Adkins behind him. All right.
Yeah.
Greenlaw, perfect. All right, perfect. We signed him. Great. We're running it back with Sternad and Singleton behind him and whatever. And so that's just what I got to say is that, and I feel like running back, that could have been very, very much the case had you not been very lucky and J.K. Dobbins was available in June. They weren't even aggressive in the UDFA pool at running back either, which I thought was just asinine at the time of the draft too. So number two, just be more serious about upgrading the bad parts of your team.
Like you kind of like took the easiest way out I've ever seen on this show. Like you're just like, just get better everywhere you need to get better.
Get better where you're bad.
I need you to pick one of those areas and give me and solve it. And I guess I'm gonna have to assign it to you since you won't follow directions. Okay. I want you to fix my running back room.
No, I wanted to. Damn it! All right.
No, I want you to fix my linebacker room.
Okay, so first of all, what am I doing? I am letting Sternad and Singleton go out the door.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, of course. Sternad, once again, he played great this past year, but I just want guys that have just rather high upside. And Sternad, he's going into his 7th year in the NFL. There's a reason he's never been a starter in the event and for any reason other than injury. Listen, I like Sternad. I love what he brought this past year. I think his story the past 2 years has been incredible, filling in last year very admirably when Singleton went down week 3 against Tampa Bay. But Sternad, he's just been, how do I put it? He would just be a symbolization of everything we are about we have been about at that room in the past few years is we're just fine not taking the high upside swings. We would always get these guys like Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton. Okay. Well, when was the last time we heavily invested into the linebacker position other than Dre Greenlaw? Drew Sanders, I don't really count because his thing was he was a hybrid. And for some reason we really like those guys too. But yeah, I am tearing it down. I'm letting everybody besides Greenlaw walk, even though he's, I guess, can't speak Spanish. But no, I'm signing a couple, like, even if you're just going out there and just signing, I just want something different at the linebacker room. And heck, there is a chance that you roll into next year. If you want to forego investment, which is, something that we have done as an organization the past few years with the linebacker position for the most part, then you know what? If it's up to me, all right, Dre Greenlaw, and then we have Lavelle Bailey and Karene Reed and whoever else can win the inside linebacker 2 spot, maybe even Drew Sanders. We're having those guys give it a shot because I'm just tired of these guys like Singleton and Sternad that we keep around because they're good presences and they know the defense.
Well, if you would have said Devin Lloyd, I would have given you all the points on mic'd up, but since this isn't mic'd up, I'll let it slide. What did I decide? What was I going to give you, Mark? Was it the wide receiver room? Or the running back room? Fix my running back room, please.
Well, we need to fix the running game, Mike. I'm like, so Kodiak in that spiel that he just had, he said the word "I'm tired" a lot, and that's exactly how I feel. I want to pull my hair out. I'm getting all these grays. You can't really see them, but Mike, I'm getting up to your level with the grays already because of this damn running game. I'm so sick.
Up to my level. Well done. I'm making notes of that.
I'm just trying to be like you, Mike. I'm so sick of talking about the lack of running game every single year. And part of it is a lack of a commitment to the run game. And then also a part of it is that we just can't run the ball when we actually commit to it with Sean Payton's very minimal amount of patience that he has. This run game as a whole needs to be revamped. I like the idea, firstly, of bringing in one of the assistant coaches, right? We have to replace a couple of positional coaches. We got to replace what Pete Carmichael does as a senior offensive assistant. So I love the idea of looking at somebody like Anthony Lynn to come over here and be responsible for the run game because he's been a coach that has been very good at getting the most out of a run game for a long time. I think we need to get rid of Ben Powers for cap reasons and upgrade at the left guard position. I think that we can in the draft or in free agency or even with Nick Gargiulo, but just have a commitment to the running game from that standpoint. Because, maybe we're kind of being sold a lie that our offensive line is elite at run blocking and elite at pass. I think we're elite at pass blocking, but I think that there's a lot left to be desired there. So we need to revamp the entire running scheme and then obviously bring in more running back talent. The only running back on our team currently that should be returning in 2026 is RJ Harvey. Everybody else, Jaleel, Bidet, Sia, JK, you can go. That's fine. Deuce Vaughn on the practice squad and the other
The
Schrader guy that we
smallest
have.
human in the NFL.
Yeah. They can all go. They can all go. Bring in Tyler Algier, right? If you want to re-sign J.K. Dobbins alongside him, that's fine. But bring in Tyler Algier, bring in another low-end running back that's a veteran that you can put on the practice squad, and then draft yourself a talented running back in the first 2 days of the draft. And let these guys go out there and compete to show who the hell can go out there and be a really good presence for this team. So we just need to have a running game, man. It's going to protect Bo. It's going to allow for us to rely less on Bo running, which we saw what happens this year when maybe he runs a lot. And also, it's going to make him a lot better because it's going to take all the pressure off of him. Like, there was so much pressure on Bo Nix to deliver. And because he's a special player, he did most of the times. But, man, it would just be nice to have the ball with a lead with 5 minutes left on the clock in the fourth quarter and know that the other team's not going to get the ball back. And it's because we ran it down their throat. So bring back the dominant running game. And really, guys, I mean, I know this might sound ignorant, but it's not that hard to do. You see teams do it every single year. They revamp the running game. And so it's time that we do that this year.
And it might be happening. I'll go next. Here's where I take on crazy fan, non-analyst take. Watching this season, every time Bo Nix was asked to go out on that field and win a game, he did it. Every single time. Think about that. Now, there was the Jaguars game. He was not given that opportunity because it was out of reach. He did what he needed to do in the Colts game, but we got the leverage call. And then the other one was kind of the same thing where I don't even remember what happened. It was the Chargers where Bo Nix did go down and get us the points we needed. And then the defense let us down. And with like a minute left, Justin, if Herbert was able to get them in field goal range and win that game. And so hats off to them and hats off to the Patriots for beating us at home. Of course, we don't cry here too much on the Mile High Monsters. We do give credit where credit is due. But I would like to see, now with Lombardi gone, possibly Davis Webb coming in, these things might already be in the works. They may have noticed this, self-scouted themselves. But isn't it weird how the offense disappears for quarters of games and then all of a sudden can seemingly score at will? It's about risk-taking. It's about taking the leash off of Bo. Like, I love Sean Payton's play designs. When you go back and watch the 22, there's people running around. He's scheming people open. There's players open. There are lanes to run. So we've talked about some positions we need. The number one wide receiver. We need a running back that can do these things. We need maybe a tight end, or at least to look at the tight end we have. But I think a lot of it really came down to turtling a little bit on offense. Sean being old, he said it himself, I tend to worry about risk more than reward as I get older. He said those things. I'm not making these things up, however he put it. And that's true, right? So experience comes just right after you need it. And that's the way of the world. And we're all living our lives for the first time and learning lessons. Now, he's learned a lot of lessons, and he's letting those affect him in his play calling. Maybe I would like to see the greatest show on grass. I'd like to see us go out and actually aggressively try and beat the crap out of teams offensively while we have a very good defense. Now, my nerd friends will tell me, well, you can't do that because if you go out there and try and score quickly and you try and throw the ball all around, then you get your defense tired. My response to that is, hey, if it's not working, then you can go back and pound the rock and give your defense a break and do 8, 9-minute drives. You can always go back to that because guess what? We're really, really good at doing that. Even without a run game, we're able to do 8-minute drives. Isn't that crazy? And that's because Bo Nix has a way of picking up first downs, and Courtland Sutton has a way of getting first downs. I don't think there was anybody better in the NFL than Bo Nix in third down passing conversions and touchdowns this year. So suck it if you don't like it, but I think that's another big move to take this team to the next level. It'd be letting Bo off the chain a little earlier and seeing what we've got there. Kodiak, there's 4 of them. There's got to be something else on your mind that's keeping us from, it could be coaching, it could be a player, it could be anything else, but we're going to give this blueprint and then I'm forwarding this on to Sean. He's expecting it in form of a Google sheet by 5 o'clock today. So I've got about an hour to pull this together. So what do you got?
All right. So before we wire this to Sean Payton, I just want to say that I will do this with Mark. Like he and I are at a very similar page as far as this. Dude, I am sick of our tight ends. I'm just so sick of seeing Troutman, of seeing Kroll, of seeing Adkins, of seeing all those guys get more snaps than they should because they're good, culture guys or good locker room leaders or whatever because they know the scheme. Like, dude, at a certain point, we got to be like, all right, we've probably gotten the worst tight end play in the NFL over the past 2 or 3 years. I'm probably thinking of another team, but for a team that's actually competent and for a team that's actually been as good as we have, the amount of success that we've had without a good tight end has been insane because you've seen the common denominator for a lot of really good teams in the NFL has been a tight end. Like over the past few years, San Francisco 49ers, very consistently good team. George Kittle, Chiefs, Travis Kelce.
You said it on the show. That's another point. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. But either way, so we need to upgrade everywhere we can at tight end. I don't care if we trade Ingram. I don't care if we release Ingram. I have no preference either way. I would get if they brought him back. I would get if they cut him. But you need to draft at least 2, in my opinion. I think you got to at least draft 2 because it's less about, the players that we're getting rather than it is just overhauling the room. Okay. And not only that, but you need to make sure, like, hey, if we're bringing in this tight end who can catch a lot of balls, if we're bringing in this tight end to be a receiver, you need to make sure you actually deploy them in that role. Okay. And the inverse is true. If you are signing dudes just to block, Mark has actually brought this up on his channel a lot. Remember Chris Manhertz 2 years ago? How we were told that he'd be this incredible blocking tight end and he couldn't block for anything. But with Kroll, with Troutman, with Adkins, you have guys who can't catch. You have guys who can't run routes. You have guys who can't block. So if you're doing all those things on the football field, if you can't catch, can't block, can't run routes, and you're a skill position player, I feel like you're kind of in trouble. Are you not?
Yeah, I think if we're not using tight ends anyway, I don't want to invest too much in it. But maybe, maybe that's going to change again. We're going to have no more screen passes. If the run game starts working, Bert, you'll see less screen passes. So, look, guys, I think we kind of gave you the blueprint on how to fix this team. If I'm missing something, Mark, did we miss something? Let's see. We're going to fix the run game. We're going to get a number 1 wide receiver. We're going to shore up our linebacker position. We're going to let Bo cook. And I forget what else we talked about. Do we get running back, wide receiver, like defense? I think maybe we only need 4 things to win a Super Bowl. I think the general, there's a lot of generals in there. I know that these two great gentlemen are going to be doing very in-depth free agency shows. There's going to be some draft shows, both on their individual channels at Kodiak Broncos and at Marcky Sports Denver. You can also find them on Horsepower Hour with whatever his name is, Jeremy Shawn. I still don't understand that. And David Tuck's Broncos. We're going to have to work on his branding. Jeremy, if you're watching, you know I love you, and we're going to have to fix that, though. So, but if you guys, if you guys have any time left in your day after I kept you on here for nearly 2 hours, I hope it's a wonderful day for you. I couldn't be more happy to be joined by a couple of the best in the business when it comes to this stuff. A meathead like me loves to hear that my dreams are crushed when I talk about Justin Jefferson or the like. And so thank you for ruining the rest of my day, but I hope we made the rest of your day. Broncos country, thank you so much for being in the chat. For Mark and Kodiak, I'm Mike Carmelini. We will see you all in the coming days because we're on all the time. Go Broncos. Peace out.